Hey, what's up, Clearview family? Midweek moment here. I want to give us a word of encouragement in the study that we've been doing with our men this fall, and that is a study on the ruthless elimination of hurry with Pastor John Mark Comer. And it's really been about matching the rhythms of Jesus, because ultimately, as a believer, there's a process called sanctification, which is a process of becoming more like Jesus. And what I want to encourage us today is to become more like Jesus in the rhythm in which he lived and he exampled for us. And so many times we think about our lives and how we want to see different things happen, and we got to make them happen. So we got to work harder, hustle faster. But that's really our way of doing it, not necessarily his way of doing it. You see, the rhythm that Jesus carried was one that was relaxed. If you think about the miracles that took place and the stories that are shared about Jesus throughout the Gospels, he was relaxed. He was going about his business and going about his day when he made himself both the interruption in people's lives and interruptible from people's lives. If you think about just a few stories with me, there's this moment where Jesus is sitting down and he's with his disciples, and a bunch of children come up to him, and the disciples try to keep him away and say, don't bother him. And he says, "Suffer the little children, let them come to me." And he sits with the children and he takes time because his rhythm was relaxed. He was interruptible and the interruption in our lives. And then he's traveling through town in crowds, and as he's walking through, a lady with an issue of blood reaches out and grabs a hold of his garment. And he asks this question to his disciples: "Who touched me?" And his disciples, probably thinking a little bit sarcastically like you and I would in that moment, like, "Hey, we are in a crowd, it's like a mosh pit. What do you mean, who touched you?" And he goes, "Power has gone out from me. Who has touched me?" Jesus was asleep below deck with his disciples when the storm on the sea came, and they were panicked because they were afraid that they were going to be tossed overboard and that the boat would be wrecked. Yet Jesus stands up and speaks to the wind and the waves and says, "Peace, be still." He was relaxed. So many different times throughout Scripture, I think about when he's teaching in the house and the four friends get their friend who needs a healing in through the roof. He doesn't panic, he doesn't worry, he simply looks at him and he heals the young man because of the faith of his friends. As people come to him and go past him and near him, he takes time. Even Martha and Mary, when he sits in their house, one of them goes, "What's wrong with her? She's not doing enough. She's not serving enough." And he says, "She has chosen what is better. She has chosen to be in my presence." You think about the healing of Lazarus and the raising of Lazarus from the dead. If the other miracles weren't enough for you, he is relaxed and he takes his time to get there. And he says, "Lazarus, come out." And he calls Lazarus out of the grave, and Lazarus comes back from the dead. If you think about the moment where he's teaching and everybody's hungry and his disciples go, "How are we going to feed all of these people?" The crowd of 5,000 plus men, women, and children. And he looks at them and says, "Find what food we have." And they bring him fishes and loaves, right? And when they bring that to him, not only does he feed everybody, because the miracle comes to Jesus in the form of a basket, and the miracle goes out from Jesus, that they had 12 extra baskets of food. Now, I don't know about you, but my mathematics doesn't work when I can have 5 loaves and 2 fish and have 12 remaining baskets after feeding thousands of people. But Jesus in his rhythm was relaxed to do the work that he's been sent out to do. He was sent from the Father to do. And I want to tell you something today, that you and I as a church, we're sent out into our workspace. We're sent out into our families. God has called us as believers to be the example, just as Jesus led his life, so we should follow in his example. I want to encourage you, where's the fire in your life? I'm not talking about the passion in your heart, but why do we live in such a hurried culture that everything seems like an emergency? I want to encourage you to schedule out time to be in his presence, be filled up so that you can pour out. Lack of preparation on somebody else's part does not, I repeat, does not require an emergency on your part. But rather, you take time and live and walk, breathe, and be like Jesus' example. Eliminate the hurry, take a deep breath, and match his rhythm.